Because of when I can get to the farm, I'm often taking pictures where the sun is a bit too bright, and I will head to either our wash station or to a greenhouse to take pictures. So in the case of the greenhouse, through the double plastic, it kind of diffuses the light and means it's just a little bit softer, it's not as harsh, and it's a little bit more consistent, and it's easier to work with for taking pictures. So I'll often take pictures in our greenhouse. Welcome to episode 72 of the Seed Farmer Podcast. The podcast where I want you to harvest seeds from some of the vegetables and flowers growing in your farm or garden, and then to plant that seed out to grow delicious vegetables and beautiful flowers. If you enjoy the Seed Farmer Podcast and find it to be a good resource that helps you improve your seed work and farming, please support the show at spreadsheet.farm/supportpodcast. I'm your host, Dan Brisebois, seed grower at Tournesol Cooperative Farm and author of The Seed Farmer, a complete guide to growing, using, and selling your own seeds. Today's minisode is about pictures. But first, a little news. First off is that there is a request for proposals for the next Organic Seed Alliance Organic Seed Growers Conference. This conference is taking place at the end of next March, 2027. Usually this event takes place in Oregon and Corvallis every 2 years, but this year it's moving and it's going to be in Asheville in North Carolina, so on the East Coast, which makes it a lot easier for many of you to go who may not have ever been able to go beforehand. So the Seed Growers Conference is a fantastic event. If you've listened to this podcast, you know that it was life-changing for me. I went in 2008, and I learned so much. It just transformed the way I think about seeds, and it took me years to unpack what I learned in that one conference. And I cannot promise you that you will have a comparable experience, but you could try. Anyway, right now, there is a call for proposals. So this is to present or be part of a panel. So proposals of what you want to see at this event. And you can either propose yourself or people that you would like to hear, or I guess those are kind of the options, either yourself or folks that you'd like to hear from for this event. And so the link is in the show notes to go and make a proposal. And I think you have until July 1st or so. Click on the link, you'll see. If you hear this, you're interested in doing it, act right away. These proposals are what make the event. I'm on the planning committee I was on last year. We read all the proposals, we evaluate them all, we try to make as many different voices heard at this event, all kinds of experience. We want to be part of this event so that there's something for everyone, because this is a big community with a lot of different seed growers in it. So definitely go and click on the link and make a proposal. The other piece of news I wanted to bring up was, again, about a link in the show notes. And then this is what I've been talking about the last couple of weeks, is I'm thinking about doing a summer seed course of some type focused on different crops. And I want to know what crops you want to know about. I'm not 100% sure about the dates of the event or how quite I'm going to put the course together, but I do know I want it to be focused on crops that you want to learn about. So either click on the link, fill out the Google form with what crops you want to hear about, tell me what you really want to learn, why you want to learn them, or maybe just send me an email with that information. And this is how I'm going to know what to put in the course. So tell me about that. So I guess both of these news is about what do you want to learn and what you want to teach. And now let's get into today's minisode topic. This is, I guess, part 2 of my seed picture series that's kind of developing. In part 1, which would be episode 62, we talked about putting together a plan of what pictures that you wanted to take during the growing season. Well, now we're in the growing season, so it's time to take those pictures. And in that episode, we talked about a few different kind of pictures that you might want to take, but the one I want to talk about today is product pictures for your online store, or maybe it's for seed packs. you could also use them for other things, but really it's pictures of the seed crops that you're offering, the varieties you're offering. And this is what makes a seed store sell seeds, is nice pictures. There's other stuff that's important too, but the nice pictures are really important. Now, I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer that I am a self-taught photographer who doesn't know the theory particularly deeply. I've just been taking pictures for a long time, and a large majority of the pictures on our farm store I've taken. And so it's kind of from that experience that I'm sharing this. If you have photography experience, definitely plug your information over my information and focus more on, the process and scheduling that I'm going to share with you. So how's that for a disclaimer? All right. Now, in the spring, you made that plan of what shots you want to take and when you want to take them. And every Saturday or Sunday, when you're planning out the coming week, you should go and look at that list and see what shots do I think I need to take this week. And now, if you only have one or two shots, maybe you just memorize it. But if you have a number of things, get them down on a piece of paper, write it, make yourself a checklist that you can then work with. When it's picture day, in an ideal world, you would take pictures early in the day or later in the day, as in like the end of the day. Either of those times probably has much better light than in the middle of the day. That hot, bright sun in the middle of the day, just beating down, really can make your shots not look particularly great, kind of look a little bit flat, in addition to maybe your vegetables being a little bit wilted. And also one thing about being in the bright sun is it might even, if you're taking pictures with your phone or a digital device and it's a little screen, you might even have a hard time really seeing that screen and seeing what you've taken while you're in that bright sun. Now, I do recognize that practically, on a working farm, it can be hard to find that time early in the day. You're going to be harvesting or doing something else, and later in the day, you're doing something else. But somewhere in that day, you're going to try to choose to take some pictures. And I'm going to get to, shortly, a couple hacks to get around not great lighting conditions, or maybe to get around too harsh sun conditions. So you can kind of go out when you want. And when you go out, so you have your list, you go look at the first crop that is on your list. The first thing you should do is take some pictures of the vegetable, the flower, in its natural environment, right there growing. Take some pictures, a few different angles. You may take a moment to maybe pull out some weeds, pull off anything that looks dead or not so great, but have some pictures of how it looks. And actually, maybe I should have said before, there's kind of like three types of pictures we're going to try to take with each of these sessions. So the first one is going to be what it looks like where it is. And try to focus on the part that you're going to eat. So if it's a tomato, focus on the tomato fruit, not the leaf. So focus on the tomato. If it's a lettuce or some leafy green, focus on that part. If it's a flower, hit the flower. It gets funny sometimes with roots. This, in the field, it can be tough to just take a natural shot of roots. If you have like a carrot that has really nice shoulders coming out of the ground, that can be photogenic. But if it's just the leafy greens, people might not care about that as much. In that case, pull out a couple carrots, leave them on the ground beside some of the carrots that are still growing in the ground. Maybe you have, even the tines of a fork beside it. But that's kind of the first shot to take, is a few shots of what it looks like straight in the field. Then you can harvest the vegetables or flowers, the stuff that you want to take from picture, and maybe, depending on how hot a day it is, try to take some pictures in the field with those also. It could be putting them on the ground, putting them on grass. Maybe you have a cutting board with you that you take out, but take something in the field. It'll give you a chance to just take advantage of the fact that you've just handled it. It's right there. It still looks good. Take some shots there. So that's the second type of picture. So at this point, you probably move on and do this with a few of the different crops that you're trying to gather. So just a couple weeks ago, I was taking pictures from of some new lettuces that we're going to have in our catalog. And so I just went in and I took first standing pictures of all the lettuces because they're in the same section. And then I cut the heads, took some pictures of those, then I put them in a crate, and then I walked back to the barn for the third type of picture. And this is, again, pictures of the shots, but in a little bit more of a controlled environment. And so because of when I can get to the farm, I'm often taking pictures that are maybe the sun is a bit too bright, and I will head to either our wash station or to a greenhouse to take pictures. And in both of those cases, the light, well, so in the case of the greenhouse, through the double plastic, it kind of diffuses the light and means it's just a little bit softer, it's not as harsh, and it's a little bit more consistent, and it's easier to work with for taking pictures. So I'll often take pictures in our greenhouse, and our wash station has kind of a big window on the back, but it's not direct light shining on the wash tables, and I'll often take pictures in the wash station too. So I'll take these vegetables, this crate of vegetables, to one of those areas, and I'll set up, and I'll take a bunch of pictures of each vegetable. And again, each time I'm taking pictures, I'm going to take 5 or 10 shots. Now, I try to compose the picture so it looks the way I want it to do, but then I take a bunch of them, and I'll go through the list, well, whatever's ready, whatever's actually ready, and then I wind up with a bunch of pictures on my phone. So that's the first phase, which is taking the actual picture. The next thing to do is maybe that same day, in the evening, or maybe the next morning, but hopefully within the coming days, is sitting down and uploading those pictures onto your computer. Maybe they're directly in the cloud. Just go and look at those pictures. And first off, I will change the name for all the pictures, and I'll add the product code. So on our farm, arugula has a crop code BR401. So if I was taking pictures of arugula, I would just highlight all those pictures, and then I'd change the information so the title is BR401. And then later on, whenever I want to search for that arugula, I'll be able to find it easily. So that's the first thing I do. The next thing is I look at the pictures, and that one maybe is pretty obvious, but nonetheless, it's important to do. So I look at the pictures, and if there are any that are really not good, I delete those. And as I'm going through, if there's any I particularly like, I'll put a heart or favorite it, however your picture app works. I'll use their feature to indicate that this is one that I really like. And so I'll just kind of go through with that. And then I go back and I look at the pictures again and try to eliminate anything I don't like and see if I still love the ones that are favorites. And ultimately, I need one picture that's good. That's what I ultimately need. So if I've taken, 15 or 20 shots of a lettuce and I have 2 or 3 that are favorites, I'll probably export those out or filter just by my favorites and then look at them on their own to see, without kind of like flipping back and forth with the not so hot ones, and see if I still feel that when I'm looking at the picture. Sometimes, for whatever reasons, you have less good shots to work with. Yeah, you got to live with that. And a picture is better than none. But sometimes you have a bunch of great pictures, and, of the great pictures is where you're trying to get to. So I will heart the ones I really like, and I'll try to eliminate as many of the rest as possible to not wind up taking too much space on my hard drive or on cloud storage. So that's the second phase, is kind of a selection process. Now, the third phase is what you do with those pictures. And some of this might happen during the second phase, because the main purpose when I personally use these pictures is going to be on our online store. And those pictures are square on the online store. That's how our website is set up. So I will crop those pictures to be a square so that they're going to fit on my online store. And now we use Shopify, but I think it's true for most online stores. You can have more than one picture associated with the product. So if there are a few that are pretty good that show different kinds of angles, maybe, I have one that's a close-up on a tomato in the wash station. That might be the main shot, but then I got a couple good growing shots of the tomato. I might put those second and third ones. So I'll label the picture somehow that way. Maybe it's I don't know what the tomato is. Let's say its tomato is SL303, which is, I think, our Montreal Tasty. So I'll have SL303-1 will be the main one, and then -2 and -3 might be the couple others if I have them. But that first one is the most important, and make sure your best one is the first one. So that's kind of my personal use for those pictures. But I also work with a team at our farm, and Sophie, my co-farmer, does a lot of our graphic design, and so she's going to need some of these pictures, and she'll make seed packs out of them. She may use them for some other things too, but her cropping won't be the same as my cropping. So when I'm going to export my pictures, I'll export a square cropped one, and I'll probably have that in the title, and then I'll also export the full shot so that she has more to work with, and then she can crop it the way that she wants to in her software. So part 3 is going to be exporting the pictures according to the formats that you're going to need. Now, the last thing is, what do you do with those pictures? Now, by this time, what you've wound up with is maybe you had 15 or 20 or more pictures initially, and you've wound up with maybe one good shot that you've exported as a square and as a full size, or maybe 2 or 3 good shots that are in a couple formats. So it's a lot smaller. And at this point, this is where you want to organize it in a way that makes sense. So maybe, if you use Google Drive or maybe use Dropbox, you can have a master folder that is your product shots, and you can upload your picture there, and you want to have your title, the product code, and then maybe you upload other shots in the same place, or maybe it's another file that's also organized by product code. But that's the fourth part, is how you're going to organize them. And it's really great to have a clear system. It makes it easier for everybody, including yourself. So at that point, once you've done that, then you can check it off of your list. Technically, you can maybe check it off of your list when you took the picture, but when you have actually exported the picture and you know that you like it, then you can definitely check it off. And you can come back to this at the end of the summer or the fall, whenever you're ready to update your web store to get new products online. Maybe if you are making seed packs and you're going to have them printed, maybe you can do that a little bit earlier. One thing about this kind of looking at these pictures sooner than later gives you the chance to see if maybe you really missed it. Maybe you made a mistake. For some reason, the lighting was a little bit funny and you didn't catch it. Or sometimes I wonder what I was seeing. There might be like a lettuce head and there's like just this rotten leaf right in the middle of the shot. And it's like I framed everything else well, and somehow I didn't see that rotten leaf, and it's in every shot. And maybe I can do a little touch up afterwards, but maybe I would just rather go get some new lettuce heads and try it out. And that's where checking the pictures in a short delay from taking the pictures means that that lettuce head still might look good in the field, and it hasn't bolted and gone to seed. So that's one of the big reasons to at least look at the pictures as quickly as possible. I guess the last thing I want to say before we wrap up is that some vegetables are more photogenic than others. Tomatoes look great, peppers great. I find it so tough to take a good shot of a lettuce head. It's really difficult to get the texture and the form of it. And so I'm just sharing that some vegetables are more frustrating. And maybe it's just me. Maybe you all love taking lettuce pictures and take phenomenal lettuce pictures. But it's definitely worth taking a bunch of pictures and getting used to it. And this is a skill that's good to have on farm, because it means you can get things into your online store without having to worry about other people. So with that all said, I guess it's time for you to go and look at your photo plan and see what pictures are scheduled for this week, and make a checklist and head out to the field and take some pictures. And that's another minisode of the Seed Farmer podcast. I'm not sure if there's more episodes in this picture series coming. If you have any ideas what a next episode should be in this series, send me an email, contact me. Otherwise, good luck with your pictures. Thank you to Sophia Sedalton for the theme music. You can hear more of their music at sophiasedalton.com. Thank you to Molly Brisebois for editing this episode, and thank you so much for listening. You can find more seed growing resources on my blog at seedgrowers.farm. While you're there, you can subscribe to my newsletter full of seed growing, crop planning, and farm spreadsheets. You can also find out where to order a copy of my book, The Seed Farmer, a complete guide to growing, using, and selling your own seed. And you can support the podcast at spreadsheet.farm/support-podcast, or follow the link in the show notes. If you haven't already subscribed to this podcast, now's the time. You wouldn't want to miss the next episode. Until then, happy farming.